physical kryptonite, helpless to the base and the faded light. Oh, we were born.
Welcome to our third breakout session of the afternoon here in the main room at Rackspace Solve LA. Here to talk about the 3 technology questions every brand manager needs to ask. Please welcome Product Marketing Manager from Rackspace, Kristen Waldrop.
This is that ice cold Michelle fight for that white gold. This one for them hood girls, them good girls.
All right, y'all have almost made it to the end of the day, so I'm going to try and keep it interesting, and hopefully the last hour will fly by. So a little bit about Rackspace. Well, if you've made it this far and you don't know about Rackspace, I hear they're issuing refunds at the front. But in all seriousness, we're nearly a $2 billion company. And within Rackspace is a group called Rackspace Digital, and that's the group that I'm a part of. And what we do is we specialize in the content and commerce applications that power your business, drive revenue, create customer loyalty, and are really the front of who you are. So in any way that a customer may interact with your brand, that's what we do. So, cute picture aside, what I want to talk about is sort of the dynamic between the CMO and the CIO. With the rise of digital marketing, technology is permeating every aspect of marketing, and IT and marketing are really becoming strategic partners. Well, at least that's the way it should be. And we all know it isn't always. And sometimes the CIO and CMO are on complete opposite ends of the spectrum. They have different cultures, speak different languages, and in some cases are even in different physical locations. So we really see the CMO and brand managers, what they're trying to do is clearly convey the value of their brand. And what the CIO is trying to do is maintain the integrity of their technology infrastructure. So what happens is this cat and dog relationship can emerge because they've got different priorities. So what we see sometimes is a metaphorical boxing match between the two. The brand manager and the CMO really needs to keep pace with change, keep ahead of customer demands, while the CIO wants to make sure that their platforms are secure and stable and performing. But sometimes that comes at the expense of what the CMO needs to do. But it doesn't have to be that way. And what we've done in this presentation is outline a few strategies and 3 questions that can kind of start to bridge that gap between the two. So what we did is we enlisted Ad Age to conduct a survey for us and provide some statistical evidence behind this gap. So we looked at marketers. 51% of our audience were marketers. The other came from digital agencies that provide brand strategy, et cetera. The average revenue for these companies was $500 million, about 150 employees. So, what did we find? We found that over half of marketers are dissatisfied with their comfort level with IT. And why is that? Well, like I said, they've got different priorities, they speak different languages, and that relationship between the two isn't always as seamless as it should be. And nearly 60% aren't comfortable discussing their IT needs with their IT teams. And in fact, only 31% felt that their IT team understood what their needs were. And when we're talking about a platform that generates revenue for your company, that's a huge gap. And so what we wanted to do was kind of explore how the two can come together and what are the common things that they can be discussing to work toward the goal of driving revenue and brand loyalty, et cetera. So, on to the 3 questions. First, when is it time to re-platform? And in this context, we're talking about switching applications. So, you may be on an enterprise or a mid-market application, but you really have grown and you've got enterprise-level needs now. So it's time to move up in your application. Or you may be on a homegrown system that, as your company got started, met your needs then, but now you're bigger and you need to look at something that suits your needs now. Secondly, how do you pick the right platform? So there are a lot of things to consider when deciding on which CMS or which e-commerce platform you're going to use. And finally, how do you prepare for your Shark Tank moment? This is the holy grail, right? Everybody wants their product, their business, their brand to go viral, but not everyone is prepared for it when it happens. Okay, so how do you know when it's time to re-platform? 53% of respondents in this survey said that their company needs to invest in new technologies. So we're talking about commerce technologies, social platforms, customer analytics, those types of technologies. And a staggering 75% of companies haven't upgraded their platform since 2013. And as we near the end of 2015, that's eons in terms of technology. So what are the indicators that it may be time to re-platform? First of all, your site may just be running slow. And as we near the holiday season, who wants to have a slow platform? And we found there are tons of studies out there that say that for every second of latency, conversions drop by 7%. And that can add up really quickly, especially over the holidays. Or you're simply unable to keep up with what your competitors are doing. The new buzz in commerce now is omni-channel, so that integration between your commerce site, your mobile site, your physical presence, all needs to work together seamlessly. You may have difficulty complying with industry standards. So, PCI is huge, and the last thing you want to be is the headline of a nasty scandal, credit card hacks, etc. It can be cost prohibitive and very expensive to do this kind of thing, but you have to think of the cost in the long term. So, patching together solutions may work. It may be a little bit cheaper now, but in the long run, you could end up paying a lot more. Also, there may be new requirements that organizations face that didn't exist yesterday. So some things to consider when re-platforming. What does your payment system look like? Where are you going to store that consumer information, and how are you going to architect your site properly so that you can meet PCI compliance? Mobile functionality. 50+% of buying decisions are either informed or made on mobile devices, and it's only going up. And if you would like more detail on this, the National Retail Federation has a ton of really interesting data, tons of stats that you can dig into. The site also needs to be an important tool to inform business decisions for the marketing team. So they need to be able to test variations of the site, run things like pay-per-click ads, and have an effective SEO strategy, as well as manage their email subscriptions, and et cetera. And then finally, kind of one of the important things to consider also is how you're going to host your environment and how you're going to create a site that scales, that is cost effective so that you're not paying for idle capacity, and that you're still able to meet internal or external compliance requirements. And one of the big things is preparing for the event of a disaster and making sure your site is redundant, that there's failover, et cetera. Because this is ultimately your revenue engine, and so it needs to be performing and it needs to be available. So, how do you pick the right platform? Earlier, if you were here for Benefit Cosmetics, we heard the gentleman speak through a very deliberate process that he went through to decide on Hybris as his e-commerce platform and Drupal as his CMS. And so there needs to be a lot of thought between what marketing needs and what the technology team requires in terms of infrastructure. So, 93% of teams and agencies were minimally involved in the selection of their technology platform. And I find this astounding because ultimately, the marketing team, in a way, is a customer of the CIO. And so to have nearly all of these decisions made without the involvement of the end user is huge. So, how can marketing and IT work together? The first is open lines of communication. And there really needs to be an agreement between marketing and IT on who does what, clear roles and responsibilities. And also, it's an effective strategy to have SLAs in place so that each team knows what's expected of one another. You need to understand the timing and staffing limitations because the CIO is working for an entire organization, not just marketing. Resources are limited, and while we would all like to have as many IT staff as we wanted, it's just not realistic. So having an understanding of what the limitations are will make both parties more understanding of one another and ultimately more successful. Establish key metrics. So if the CMO and the CIO can both determine what success looks like and help each other work toward that definition of success, ultimately everyone is going to benefit in the end. So how do you prepare for your Shark Tank moment? Over half of people agreed that if their site went viral, they wouldn't be able to handle it. And with the holidays coming up, like I said earlier, it's especially important that you know what capacity your site has to handle. How can you be ready? So be prepared. So having a systematic approach and knowing what to do in the event of a spike can be really helpful, as well as having a solid team. So we have a few roles here: an engineer, a DevOps guy, a developer, project manager. These people need to have a really close working relationship and be able to understand what needs to happen in the event that there is a spike. And this is not the time for frills and thrills. This is really sort of a basic, get down to the essentials sort of strategy. And finally, put a plan. Once the plan is in place, execute it, close the sale, and make sure that your site is up, your brand is protected, and you're driving revenue. So in the survey, we asked, in addition to these questions, what else would you want to ask? I wish I had known what other companies similar to ours were doing. So that's where having a third-party digital agency, system integrator, managed hosting provider can come in really handy because they see other brands like yours, they see what they're struggling with, and they see what makes them successful. I wish I'd realized how long it would take my IT team to scale up for new campaigns. So in this digital on-demand scenario, it's not always as easy as flipping a switch, turning on a server, and launching a campaign. There's tons of strategy work that goes behind it, creative, and then you get down to the technology. So understanding what that timeline looks like is really, really important. All right, understand how much flexibility our new technology vendors offers us in terms of differentiated solutions. So one of the things that's great about Rackspace is that we have a variety of technology that we can pull from to provide the right solution. Know the extent of the vendor's availability and willingness to address problems after the system's in place. So it's not just a turn it on and forget it, because these things require ongoing maintenance. Things break, capacities are exceeded, and you need to have faith that somebody's going to be there and willing to help in the event that there's an issue. And finally, know what the total cost is going to be. The last thing we want to be is hit with hidden fees and unexpected costs, because we're all managing to tight budgets. So having a good idea of what things are going to cost is really key as well. Okay, getting help to bridge the marketing and IT divide. So interesting, as far apart as marketing and IT are, one thing that they both agreed on, 72% of marketing and 72% of IT leaders agreed that having a third party would help bridge the guide. And not surprisingly, their preferred third party was a managed hosting provider. So Rackspace works with, we provide the hosting and support and maintenance aspect of it, but we also work closely with our digital agencies and system integrators in a really close partner ecosystem, because alone, they're only parts and pieces of a solution, but together we can provide something that will really deliver the entire campaign, or the entire website, or the entire e-commerce engine. So a little bit more about Rackspace Digital and what we do. On the e-commerce side, we provide support for Magento, Oracle, and Hybris. And on the content side, Adobe and Sitecore. We have staffed certified engineers in these platforms to the extent that for Oracle, Sitecore, and Adobe, we are able to provide 100% production platform uptime guarantee. So, we're not only maintaining your servers and the network and the security, but we're going into the application to help you out there as well. And then there's the other services like MongoDB and DevOps, where we have trained engineers that can help you if you need some integration between your development team and your IT operations teams. For the 5th year in a row this year, we were named the top hosting provider to the internet retailer top 1,000 e-commerce sites, as well as the Hot 100. So the fastest growing 100 retail sites, we're the preferred hosting provider for those as well. And we, like I said, it was part of the partner ecosystem. We partner with 9 of the 10 leading digital agencies, and that's something that we're really proud of, because we don't want to be designing the look and feel of your campaign. That's not what we do. But we partner with people that can, and that's their strong suit. Just yesterday, we launched a new product called Managed Cloud for Adobe Experience Manager. And this takes a lot of the complexity out of deploying an Adobe Experience Manager environment, makes it a lot simplified pricing based on the publisher. It's really a cool product, and our digital table's right out there if you'd like to learn more. We provide hybrid infrastructure, so that the ability to, let's say, put your PCI necessitated data on physically isolated servers, but use the cloud for bursting in periods of high traffic. And the ability to take various technology solutions and architect the solution that fits you best is what we do, and the value that we bring to our customers. And finally, with our critical application services, we were able to offer 100% platform uptime guarantee. And that's huge. When this is your brand and this is your revenue engine, that is enormous value. So thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. And that concludes the breakout sessions in this main room. And coming up at 4:55, we will have our final closing session with Michelle Bailey from 451 Research and some wrap-up comments from Ian Urquhart. So come on back at 4:55 for the final closing session.